Bill Belichick went on the Pat McAfee show and ripped Joe Schoen. He all but said you are in over your head and you are an amateur. And I also think that he wanted to let John Mara know that I can do his job better than he can, and I should be your next general manager and head coach. Before we dive into the quotes and I give you my thoughts on what Bill said, my question to you is this. Should the New York Giants clean house yet again? Should they fire Brian Daboll? Should they fire Joe Schoen? Or should they keep him? F for fire, K for keep. Sound off in the comments section. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. I appreciate everybody for stopping by and everybody that keeps clicking on these videos. With the New York Giants at 2-5 on the season, it's easy to quit. It's easy to punt on the season as a fan. But I know that there are diehard New York Giants fans that watch this channel, and that's why we're going to continue to give you free updates every single day on this football team. Bill Belichick, he ripped Joe Schoen. Let's just go right to the quotes. He said, it looked like in Hard Knocks. I mean, I don't think Daboll wanted to get rid of Saquon, and I certainly don't think John Mara wanted to get rid of Saquon. I mean, this seemed like, kind of a Joe Schoen general manager thing. He didn't think anybody would pay him when kind of everybody in the league knew that he was going to go to the Eagles. AKA, Bill Belichick thinks that Joe Schoen is an amateur. Bill Belichick thinks that Joe Schoen is in over his head. Bill Belichick knows that Joe Schoen is a flawed general manager. Joe Schoen thought he was the smartest person in the room, forecasting that nobody would pay Saquon Barkley. He got paid more money than anybody had offered him from the Giants in 3 hours of free agency opening. Whether you think the decision was right, whether you think the decision was wrong, the only person that is 100% sure wrong is Joe Schoen in the market that he had projected for Saquon Barkley. More quotes from Bill Belichick. The thing I don't really understand, Barkley was their best player, For a couple $1 million more, they could have kept him. I guess, instead they got a guard or somebody. I don't know. The offensive line doesn't look very good. I mean, they're playing a guy at left tackle who shouldn't be playing left tackle. Evan Neal was drafted in the first round. He doesn't play. They have some free agent guards that are pretty suspect. It's a tough line. And honestly, I thought, the quarterback is trying to hang in there. It's been tough sledding. You know what that was? That was pandering. That was catering. You know what Bill Belichick should have said? John Mara, I know you love me, and my job is to come back and work for you, and I can do a better job than Brian Daboll, but more importantly, I could do a better job than your general manager. And I am only going to come work for the Giants as if I have total control. If I'm the head coach and if I am the general manager. He is catering to John Mara here. How do I know that? John Mara didn't want to lose Saquon Barkley. What did Bill Belichick say? I want to keep Saquon Barkley. Bill Belichick wants to keep Daniel Jones. He doesn't want Daniel Jones to be, or John Mara wants to keep Daniel Jones. He doesn't want him to be the scapegoat. What has Bill Belichick said? At least the quarterback is hanging in there. Everyone is laughing at the New York Giants for what happened on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. They are laughing because Saquon Barkley returned to MetLife Stadium in an Eagles uniform, and he took a dump on Joe Schoen. He took a dump on him and said, I was right, you were wrong, ha, ha, ha. Look, I still believe that letting Saquon Barkley go and not paying him that contract was the right decision. And I do think overall that Joe Schoen had a solid offseason, but not perfect. And some of the things he did and did not do were extremely questionable. And we're going to break them all down on today's show. But before we do, my question to you is this. Who would you rather have as the general manager of this football team going forward? Is it Joe Schoen? Is it Bill Belichick? Type the initials of the guy you want making the calls for this organization. I'm not 100% convinced that Joe Schoen is the right general manager for this football team. I'm also 100% not convinced that he is the wrong guy for this. But I do have my questions about Joe Schoen going forward. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I got to give a major shout out to a brand new sponsor on today's show, DraftKings. As you guys know, I also host our New York Knicks channel here at Chat Sports. This ad is going to primarily be driven on Knicks Now, but I also wanted you guys to get in on the fun. And you can do that by using the promo code KnicksChat. And when you play and bet $5, you're going to get $200 instantly. The NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KnicksChat. That's code KnicksChat for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/BBALL. Shout out to DraftKings, and with the NBA opening tonight with my Knicks versus Smitty Celtics, he's got a same game parlay. I'm going to say fade him. Smitty, I don't love what you got, brother.
Plus 700, $20 wins 160 on DraftKings. I think the Celtics are the better team. Give me the money line for them to win this game outright. I also think they're going to come out hot on ring night. Give me them to win the race to 10. I also got Jason Tatum, 9+ rebounds. No Porzingis. They're going to need him crashing the glass. Jalen Brunson, one of the best shot creators in this league. They're going to need a lot from him on New York side. Give me 25+ points. And then Sam Hauser off the bench. Give me a burst. Over 1.5 threes. $20 pays 160 plus 700. Ride with Smitty's same game parlay. We're hitting first night of the NBA season.
Roll with Smitty. Fade Smitty. Shout out to DraftKings. All that information will be clickable down in the comments and description of today's show. If I could speak to John Mara, this is what I would say. If Joe Schoen is on the hot seat in your mind entering the 2025 NFL season, move on once the 2024 season is over. Because there is going to be a quarterback added to this roster, most likely in the NFL draft. And I don't want a bet if you should not allow John Mara, you should not allow Joe Schoen to pick that quarterback in 2025 if you are a bad season in 2025 away from firing. What I'm trying to say is the guy that picks the next quarterback in the draft for the New York Giants should be that quarterback's general manager for at minimum the first 2 years of his career. There needs to be some stability and there needs to be structure. And if you're just going to let Joe Schoen draft the guy and then you're going to fire him after 1 year, that means head coach number 2, offensive coordinator number 2, general manager number 2. Make sure the guy who is going to draft the quarterback this year is the guy for the future. I don't know if it's John Mara. I don't know if it's Joe Schoen. I'm 50-50. Look, I love some of the things he did this offseason. I loved the Brian Burns trade. You would not have been able to get Saquon Barkley back and keep Brian Burns. So what did Joe Schoen do? He essentially chose Brian Burns over Saquon Barkley. I would do that every single day of the week. That's why I still think letting Barkley go was the move. Now, was not offering Saquon Barkley a franchise tag the wrong decision? Maybe. Was not getting a deal last year done wrong? Maybe. But with everything that happened and got us up to the point right before free agency started, I still think letting Barkley go was the right move. Stuff that happened before that, I cannot say I agreed with. I also love the Jermaine Illuminor signing. I told you guys 2 months before it happened he was going to be a New York Giant, and the day he signed with the Giants, I told you he was going to be the best lineman the Giants signed in free agency. They also added John Runyon. And I told you guys when they signed John Runyon, I didn't love it. I believed that it was $10 million was too expensive for John Runyon. I said that in the moment, Jermaine Illuminor was better than John Runyon. He is. And now we've got Bill Belichick, who I think knows a little bit about football, especially trench work, pretty much telling you that John Runyon is no good. There was also no real QB competition this summer. And I have a problem with that. I do. Because, and my dad always says this, what did you want them to do, Marshall? They were stuck with Daniel Jones. No, they weren't. There are 3 quarterbacks they could have signed that all have winning records and have their team in the playoffs right now. You passed on Sam Darnold. He whooped your ass at home in week 1. You passed on Russell Wilson. He just looked good on Sunday Night Football, and he's probably going to look pretty good on Monday Night Football. You passed on trading for Justin Fields. He had the Steelers at 4-2. You can't just say, what did you want them to do because they did nothing. These are 3 moves. All these quarterbacks are better than Daniel Jones. You did give Drew Lock $5 million, but he didn't take 1 rep in training camp with the first team. He didn't take 1 rep in preseason with the first team. You said to Russell Wilson, you're not going to just be gifted the starting job over Daniel Jones. You're going to have to beat him out. And you didn't draft a quarterback. You did a fake try on Hard Knocks because you still believed he was the guy. You let Xavier McKinney leave for nothing. Do I think they should have paid Xavier McKinney all that money? Maybe. Potentially. But if you didn't have any intention on signing him, why didn't you trade him at the trade deadline like you did with Leonard Williams? You also had no plan for CB2 and defensive tackle number 2 all summer long. How many times did Marshall Green on YouTube come up here and say, Giants have no plan at CB2. The Giants have no plan at defensive tackle 2. How many times? If I can see it, they need to see it. And then let's start with the draft classes. 2022 might go down as one of the worst draft classes in NFL history that featured 4 picks inside the top 67. Kayvon Thibodeau, I think, is a good player. Evan Neal's a bust. Wan'Dale Robinson at pick 43 over George Pickens, bad pick. Joshua Azudu at pick 67 cannot even play. Bill Belichick said he's not a left tackle. Cordell Flott in round 3, non-starter. Daniel Bellinger, not even a part of this football team anymore. Dane Belton doesn't play. Good pick by Micah McFadden. DJ Davidson, irrelevant. Marcus McKeithen, off the roster. So out of 10 picks from 2022, you have 1 player in Kayvon Thibodeau. You have a depth piece at wide receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson, a 5'8 slot merchant. And you have a rotational linebacker who is limited, but a really good pick at 146. What about 2023? Deonte Banks stinks. He's got piss poor attitude. He can't cover, and he's a lousy teammate that gives up on his team. You drafted Deonte Banks over Joey Porter Jr. You traded up for Deonte Banks over Joey Porter Jr. John Michael Schmitz, he's ranked as the 31st best center in the NFL. Jalen Hyatt, I believe in him, but it's been a terrible 2 years for him. Eric Gray is a joke. Trey Hawkins doesn't play. Jordan Riley doesn't play. You already cut Javarius Owens. You traded up for Banks over Joey Porter Jr. You traded up for Jalen Hyatt. It did not work. I hate the 2022 class, and I hate the 2023 class. I love the 2024 class, though. That's what Joe Schoen does. He misses, he misses, he misses as he hits. And maybe the misses need to be more loud. But man, this 2024 class is awesome. Neighbors, stud, Nubin, I believe a good player. Home run pick by Drew Phillips. Theo Johnson's got talent. Tyrone Tracy's got talent. And Muasau, at minimum, is going to be a special teams contributor for a while. But maybe the cherry on top that we all just need to process when it comes to, is Joe Schoen the right guy moving forward? It's this. He gave Daniel Jones $92 million guaranteed. He gave $92 million guaranteed. $92 million guaranteed to Daniel Jones. And maybe that should just be the answer. You ask yourself, is Joe Schoen the right guy? Marshall, he gave Daniel Jones $92 million. He thought he was the smartest in the room. And I tweeted this out a couple of months ago, and I got ridiculed on Twitter. I said, I feel like Joe Schoen carries himself in a way that he thinks he's better than everybody else. He speaks down to people. Joe Schoen suffers from thinking he is the smartest in the room. He thought nobody would pay Saquon Barkley. They did. And he just beat your ass at your home stadium. He thought that giving Daniel Jones a contract that no other team gave him Would have been a smart decision. Whether that's because John Mara made him or not. You know what? Your general manager just got your team to the playoffs and won a playoff game. If your head coach or if your owner tells you to do something you don't like it, quit. Or your name is going to be forever attached to this, and you'll never be a GM in the league again. He suffers from thinking he is the smartest in the room. Anytime, and that's how, I feel very confident about saying that because I watched Hard Knocks. We got inside access. Anytime he talked about Daniel Jones, what did the assistant general manager do? What did Brian Daboll do? What about when they said, I don't think Saquon's going to get paid? What the pro personnel people do? No one agreed with him. I don't know. Should the Giants clean house? Should the Giants clean house? There's a lot of things I like he did. I saw the vision this offseason. Don't pay premium dollars to non-premium positions, halfback and safety. Then reallocate that money to a pass rusher. I love that. Then you go get a right tackle. I love that. You overpaid for running. I said it in the moment. F for fire, K for keep. I am legitimately on the fence. I am riding the shit out of the fence right now. And maybe I'm scared to make a decision. I got 1 foot out and 1 in on Joe Schoen. But I think the question I just got to ask is, do I trust Joe Schoen to get the quarterback right? He gave Daniel Jones $92 million guaranteed. Maybe that's the answer. Follow me on Twitter, @MarshallGreen_, Instagram, @MarshallGreen_. I'm not saying Bill Belichick could do a better job, but man, I think he knows a little bit about football, and I'm going to listen to his critiques because they are all valid.